Hey friends, what up? And welcome back to Babylon Talmud. Today we're studying Daf Yud Beis, Daf 12 of Masechta Megilla. Friends, let's jump in. We're basically going through the psukim in the Megillah, and we're just like saying stuff about it. So let's just jump in, because don't you want to know what it says about it? Chelpara Sumadai. Friends, we are on Daf Yud Beis Amud Aleph, 3 lines into the wide lines. Chelpara Sumadai. Oh, what does Chel mean? Like the soldiers, the people of Persia and Media, Hapartimim. Alright? They're like, I don't know, what are Partimim? Wow. This is not a good way, friends. Let me give you a little advice. If you're starting off with Daf Yomi Shir, don't start off by saying like, what does this mean? I don't know what I'm talking about. So, a few things we have to clarify here, just in case you get the wrong idea. I'm not winging it. I did prepare it. Maybe not well enough, apparently. But we could remedy this situation. 1 second. Okay, so it does mean the armies. So the armies of Persia and Media, the nobles. Alright, well, there you go. And also says the kings of Media and Persia. So, right, on the one hand, it puts the nobles next to the Medians, and the other one it says the kings next to the Medians. So what's the deal? The Persians, the Medians, the kings, the nobles. Says Rav, they made a tanai. Who could tell me what a tanai is? A stipulation with one another. I guess the Persians and the Medians. If from us there are kings, then from you there are like notables, I guess. And if from you are the kings, so then from us come the notables. Friends, let's move on. That Achashverosh was showing off the wealth and the honor of his kingship. Wow. So, because, okay, still got a residual cough over there. So if we continue the puzzle, so it says, going back a few words, and then what the Gosa Bach adds is, and the splendor of God's greatness. Now, Rabbi Yossi Reb Chanina says, Rabbi Yossi Reb Chanina, it teaches that Achashverosh adorned the priestly garments, the Shmonim Begadim, the 8 garments of the Kohen Gadol. Friends, not a good idea. Unless you're the Kohen Gadol, then it's a very good idea. It says over here, Yikar Tferes Kedulaso, as it says over here, the splendor of his greatness, and it also says by the Kohen Gadol that the big Kuna are the Chavod Lucifaris, which says Tfaris by both. So therefore we learn out that Achashverosh was wearing the 8 garments of the Kohen Gadol. Nudnik, if you ask me. And after these, at the end of all these this partying, so it says also Amelech l'chol Am nimtzoim b'Shushan abir l'migadol v'ad kotum mishta shivas yom. Right, so it says that after all this partying, he made a grand finale for all the people in Shushan. So Rav Shmuel, we have 2 differing interpretations. One being Rav's, one being Shmuel's. One opinion is that he was a very wise king. The other one is he was a very, very foolish king. According to the opinion that he was a very wise king, he was very wise for first making the party for the far away people and only at the very end having the grand finale with the people of Shushan. Because, the people who are close by in Shushan, if he needs to, it's easier for him to appease them because they're his neighbors, as opposed to the people far away. So therefore he could start with the people who are far away, who I guess he needs to be more sensitive to. Then at the end he can get to the people who are closer by in Shushan. And according to the opinion that he was a fool, so the Iboyle Likruve Bnei Mose Beresha, what was he doing? Only bringing close the people of Shushan at the end. He should have brought them close and given them a good party at the beginning. Get them in his pocket early on, so that if the faraway nations rebel, he'll at least have the people of Shushan. He was very foolish for neglecting them at the beginning when he needed to be building goodwill and good gesture. Weiter. Shalu Tamidavis Reb Shimon ben Yochai, Reb Shimon ben Yochai's students asked him a kasha. Who is Reb Shimon ben Yochai's students? I don't know, Rebbe. Who else? I guess his son, Reb Reb Shimon. Who else? I don't know. Excuse me. How come, they asked Reb Shimon ben Yochai, the Yidden of that generation were deserving of genocide? So Reb Shimon ben Yochai said to his students, Imuatim, well, why don't you tell me? So they suggested, because they got benefit from the feast of that Nudnik, Achashverosh. But then Reb Shimon ben Yochai says, well, if that was the rationale, so then I understand why the people of Shushan would should be chayiv misa, because if we're saying that it's because they got hanoya from the Suda of Achashverosh, so that's really just the people in Shushan. What about all the other people? What about all the other people in the rest of the Sheva ve'esu mei Medina? How come they have to get killed oichit? So Amrulo, so they said to Reb Shimon ben Yochai, Emratas, why don't you tell us? Amruloim, so he said to them, because they bowed down to I think that they prostrated. I think prostrated is the same thing as bow down. Prostrated, I feel like, is more official. We like to be official at Babylon Talmud. So they prostrated in front of a getchke during the getchke is an official getchke is the official Babylon Talmud word for idol. So because they bowed down to a getchke. My mom told me some funny Yiddish phrase today. I told her I should incorporate it in Babylon Talmud, but I already forgot it. It was something funny though. What do you want me to tell you? So because they bowed down to a getchke during Nebuchadnezzar. So that's why they were in big trouble. So then the students said to Reb Shimon ben Yochai, so then how come they were ultimately redeemed and shown favor? I mean, that's like a big red line, bowing down to getchkes. So so Reb Shimon ben Yochai responded, Heimlo also lefanim, they only did it out of fear. Lefanim, what was lefanim? Lefanim was miyira, out of fear. So Baruch Hu also imoim el lefanim, that I guess the Eibusher also did it only, I guess, like on the outs externally, just to scare them, but he didn't really mean it, and ultimately he saved them. And this is what it says, that he doesn't give uncomfortable situations from his heart. I guess if your heart was good or something like that. Alright, well, their hearts were good, so they didn't get killed. Friends, moving on. That the Pasuk says that this party took place in the Chatzar Ginas Bisan of the king. So Chatzar is a courtyard, Gina is a garden, Bisan is a palace. So Rav Shmuel Charamar, so Machlokas between Rav and Shmuel, one opinion is so whoever was befitting to sit in the courtyard sat in the courtyard. Haroi legina, whoever was befitting to sit in the garden sat in the garden. Haroi levison, whoever was befitting to sit in the palace, so they sat in the palace. So it was a status thing. It depended how high you were on the food chain. The other opinion is that no, what happened was that the party started in the courtyard, but it wasn't big enough to hold all the revelers. So begin of lechzikason. So they moved the party to the garden, but still there was not enough room for all of the revelers. Until they brought them into the palace, and then the palace there was enough room for the revelers, but probably have to be careful in there. Things could break. Mistam. What do you want me to tell you? There's a brayse that says that he sat them in the courtyard. Excuse me. When he opened up for them from the courtyard two gates, one leading out to the garden, the other one leading out to the palace. So Chor, Karpas, and Scheles, what are these things? My Chor, what's Chor? Rav Omar says, Rav, Chori. It's some kind of material with lots of holes in it, like sewing work, needle work that has lots of holes in it. That's what Chor is. Shmuel Omar Melas Levano. Shmuel says it's taka white wool. All right. Hitzi Elohim, he gave to them kaipas. What's kaipas? Omer Rabbi Yossi ben Chanina karim shel pasim, pillows of fine wool. All right. Al glile kesef amudei sheish, on excuse me, rods of silver and pillars of marble. Mitozav v'chesef, beds of gold and silver. Friends, sounds like a very lavish affair. Tanya Rabbi Yehuda, Omer says Rabbi Yehuda, Haroi l'chesef l'chesef, whoever was befitting silver got silver. Haroi l'zav l'zav, whoever was befitting gold got gold. Omer lo Rabbi Nechemya. Rabbi Nechemya says to Rabbi Yehuda, Imkain, if that's the case, that it's a whole status thing. Who's going to get the silver? Who's going to get the gold? Atamatul kina b'suda. You're going to have jealousy by the suda. And you don't want to have jealousy at the Suda. Ella, heim shel kesef, ragleim shel zav. No, they were silver beds, but the legs were made of gold. Alright, moving on. The pasuk says, Al ritzvas bat v'shesh, on a, right, vidar v'socharis. So, what does, what's the gimel over here? So my bahat, what does it mean that a floor of bahat? So Omer Rib Asi says, Rabasi avonim shemeschotitus abalein. They are stones that are sought after by their owners. V'chein Omer, and similarly it says, Avnei Nezer, the stones of a crown, misnosasos alad maso, there are trials on their land, that on his land. So kilu, it's these stones that people are in search of. Alright, that's what the floor was made out of. Vidar v'socharis was also, right, made out of dar and socharis. So Rav Omar Dari. Rav says it's rows and rows. Ushmol Omar Evan Tova Yesh B'Karche Ayom. Says Shmuel that there's taka, a very fancy stone in the cities of the sea. Vidarashma. It's taka called Dara. Hoshiva Bemtza Suda. He put it in the middle of the Suda of the affair. Umeir Elohim Katzaraim, and it emanated light like the afternoon. Divrei Bishmal, that's Divrei Bishmal Tana. They told in the Besmedrash for Bishmal Shekara Dror L'chobai L'Schora, that he called a jubilee for all of the business people. That he like lowered taxes or something, which is interesting because there was one opinion the other day that Achashverosh, that everybody became Russian, everybody became poor in his days, as it says that he imposed taxes. But it says that right. What was it? Vayosem Amelech Achashverosh Mos, that King Achashverosh made a tax, but that's all. That's like the last pasuk of the entire Megillah. Over here, he's saying that he lowered taxes. I guess ultimately he had to raise taxes because he was partying too much at the beginning and canceling taxes. And they were drinking out of gold goblets and different vessels. What does that mean? Mishunim mibayle. So it should say different vessels. What's shonim? Omer Rava Yotzu Sabasko ve'Omra. So a heavenly voice emanated from the skies and said Lahem to them, Rishonim kolum pnei miponai. What? Mipnei kelim vatim shonim boim. That basically when, right, of course we learned yesterday that Belshazzar took out the vessels of the temple and he got killed. So Achashverosh thought that he was going to be better off because he thought that he had the proper formula for calculating the 70 years. And he took out all these vessels, and then a voice emanated from the heavens and said, right, so what does it mean? V'kelim shonim? So it means Belshazzar did it once, and he got smitten down, and you are doing it a second time? Bunch of nudniks. V'en malchus Rab, and kingly wine that was very plentiful. What does Rab mean? So Amar Rab says, Rab, you hear that, friends? That everybody got to drink wine that was older than he. So I'm Lemaise 34 years old. So I would have drank wine that's 35 years old, at least. When's that? What's 35 years ago? Right now it's 2021. So can somebody do the math? This is complicated. This is this is actually very easy because I was born in 1987. So just 1 year before, 1986. So wine from 1986. All right, that sounds nice. I hope it was preserved very well because otherwise it won't taste very good. Let's go weiter. So, Vashisiya chados, my chados, what does it mean that it was like the law? So Amr Reb Chanan says Reb Chanan Mishum Reb Meir in the name of Reb Meir Kedas Shel Torah, that the drinking was like the laws of the Torah. What does that mean? Madas Shel Torah Achila Mub Mishtia, just like by the Korbanis there's more food than there is drink. So Af Sudaso Shalosho Roshe, also the Suda of that Nudnik Achila Mub Mishtia, there was more eating than there was drinking. Right? For example, right, when you bring a korban, so there's the meat of the animal, there's the flour, and then there's also the libations, right? But there's more food than there is drink. So oichet at the suda of that nudnik, so there was more food than there was drink. All right, but apparently there was a lot of drink. So mistama, there was even more food. All right, what do you want me to tell you? In Ones, Omer Rebbe Lazar says Rebbe Lazar melamich kol echad ve'echad asher miyein medina, so that he gave everybody to drink from the wine of where they live, so that it wouldn't make them sick or anything like that. Wow, a lot of thought went into this hoedown. Lasos kirtzon ish vaish, to do like the will of each and every fellow. Amar Rav says Rav Lasos kirtzon Mordechai v'Haman. So when it says to do the desire of this ish and that ish, it's a reference to Mordechai and Haman. Mordechai d'chsiv ish Yehudi, Haman d'chsiv ish tzar v'oyev. That both Mordechai and Haman are referred in the Megillah as ish, a man, an ish. So Lasos kirtzon ish vaish, like the will of this man and that man. It says Rashi l'maiseh himhayu sari amashkim b'mishteh. Friends, do you hear that? Wild, right? They were the butlers, the wine people in charge of the drink at the hoedown. Wow. Kam Vashti Amalka also mishtenoshim. Vashti the queen also made a feast for the women. Beis Hamalchus in the palace. Beis Hanoshim baile. Why was she making a feast in the palace of the king? She should have been doing it by the women. Kilu, why did she davka want to make the women's feast right by the men's feast? So Amar Rav says Rav Shnei the Dvar and Iskabnu, because they were both looking to make trouble, that the men and the women should be mingling, and then it could lead to mixed dancing and all that stuff. So Hainu Damirinshid is what the people say. You Bakari Itse Be Butsine, that he's with the squash, the big gourds, and she's with the little gourds. Kilu, they're both in it together. They're both doing the same things, and therefore, he was being a nudnik, she was being a nudnik. One big nudniky kind of situation, not recommended. On the seventh day, when the king, his heart was very good with wine. That sounds nice. Your heart is good with wine. Friends, do you want your heart to be good with wine? Probably, right? As long as you don't have to think too hard about anything, that would be nice. My heart should be filled with wine. Sounds even poetic a little bit. My heart is filled with wine. This is very beautiful, right? Friends, let's go weiter. So on the seventh day, when the king's heart was good with wine. How beautiful. 1 second. Well, only on the seventh day his heart was good with wine? What about the days up until then? His heart wasn't good with wine? So Rav says, Rabbi Yomashvi Shabbos Hoyo, that the seventh day was Taka Shabbos. That when the Yidden, they eat and they drink, so they start with words of the Holy Torah and with praises. But the idol worshippers, that they're eating and they're drinking, they only start with silly matters. That's what happened at the Suda of this Nudnik. So there was a big argument, Darton. These were saying that the media women are the best, are the most beautiful. And they said, what do you know from beautiful? The Persian women, now that is beauty. So Achashverosh says, both of you have no clue what you're talking about. The vessel that I use, Eino lo Madoi velo Parsi, is neither not a Median, not a Persian, ela Kasti, a Kasdian woman. Vitzonchem lerosa, do you want to see her? Amrulo, they said, yeah, we do. Uvovajti aruma, but she has to be naked. Friends, sounds like Tiflus to me. It sounds like a bunch of nudniks over there. Shev midashad moded ba moded in law. But here's where it gets serious. that how come this whole thing happened? How come these nudniks were saying, bring out Vashti naked? Because in the same measure that a fellow measures, that's how they measure against him. What does that mean? That Vashti, the evildoer, can you call would Vashti be a nudnik or nudnikia or something? I'm not sure. Dennis, what sort of, is there like a female version? Is there like male and female for nudnik? How does that work? So Vashti apparently was also a big nudnik, and Mevia B'nos Yisrael, she would bring the Jewish girls, mafshitan arumos, and make them go naked, va'oseh boin melacha b'Shabbos, and make them do work on Shabbos. Friends, that's very bad. And so therefore, Mida Keneged Mida, sort of as payback, these bunch of nudniks at this party said to Achashverosh, bring out Vashti naked. This is what the pasuk says, that it was after these words, that when Achashverosh's anger sort of chilled out a shtickle, he remembered Vashti and what she did, and that which was decreed upon her, just like she did, that is what was decreed against her. And then the pasuk says, "Vatmoina Malka Vashti," that the queen Vashti, she refused. Mirde Pitzasa Avoy. So the Gemara wants to know. Well, after all, she was into I don't know, how do you translate pritzos? I don't know. She pritzos immodesty, immoral. That's probably a better word. She was immoral. So the Amar Mai, as we said, as we said earlier, that they were both immoral, and that's why the women's feast was right next to the men's feast. So my time so why, if she was immoral, why did she have a problem coming naked in front of all these nudniks? Well, I don't know. It doesn't sound like a good idea. But Amar Rabbi Yossi bar Chanina, it says Rabbi Yossi bar Chanina because she got saras, she got leprosy. We learned in the Brisa that Gabriel came and made for her a tail. Oh my gosh, this is a big, big mess. And Achashverosh got very, very upset. Why did he get so upset? Because Rava, says Rava, that Vashti sent to Achashverosh Ahuraire de Abba, the stable boy of my father, I think her grandfather, Nebuchadnezzar, that Nebuchadnezzar was able to drink 1,000 cups of wine, and he wouldn't get drunk. And you, Achashverosh, you get drunk. Immediately he got very upset. Interesting. Apparently Achashverosh was the stable boy of Nebuchadnezzar, and then somehow he became king, which I believe we're going to get to soon a little bit. But anyways, Bayomer, unless we got that already, when did we already say that basically Achashverosh basically didn't come from a kingly line? He kind of was a self-made king. I think maybe that was yesterday, right? So one opinion was that he paid his way into it. But anyways, the other opinion was that he was kind of a self-made kind of fellow. Anyways, but he started off as a stable boy. So then the king consulted with the sages. Who are these sages that the king consulted with? So Rabbanim, talk of the rabbis, the Jewish rabbis. Achashverosh consulted the Jewish rabbis and he said, what should I do with my wife Vashti? Yodei Itim, that they know the time, that the rabbis know how to make leap years and to set the months on the proper time, like we learned in Masechta Rosh Hashanah. Amrlu, and he said to the rabbis, Dainua li, nu, judge for me this case. Amru, they said, Echinayvit. So now they said amongst themselves, I wish he would have just left us alone. What should we do now? So Neimele Katla, if we propose that he kill Vashti, L'macher pasuk lechamri, tomorrow he's no longer going to be drunk, Uvayla minon, and then he's going to say, hey, what'd you do? Why did you kill my wife? and we're going to be in big trouble. Namely, Shavka, and if we say leave her alone, we can't just say leave her alone because she disgraced the king. So like they were kind of stuck because there was no right answer over here, right? They couldn't suggest to kill her, they couldn't suggest to leave her. So Amrulo, so what they suggested to Achashverosh was the following: from the time that the temple was destroyed, and we were exiled from our land, so we have lost the ability to give proper advice because we're like we're not settled. We don't know how to judge capital cases like this. Why don't you go and consult with Ammon and Moab, that they haven't been uprooted from any place, they're just kind of settled in their own homes. Like wine that is sitting on its lees, on its dregs, nice and settled. V'time and zeo. So they suggested that Achashverosh should consult with Ammon and Moab, that they're in a sort of better position to be able to deal with such situations. V'time ba'amrulei, and it was taka good that they made that suggestion. Tichsiv, as the pasuk says, Shainan Moab min urav, that Moab is just chilling from its young age. V'shokei tu al shmorav, and it's just kind of quiet on its dregs. V'lohurak mikli al keli, it was never poured from one vessel to another. Uvagola lo halach, and it never got exiled. Alkin amud taimabo, that's why its flavor is there. V'reicho lo nomer, and it's shmek, shmef, shmek or shmef, shmek. I don't know. Its smell doesn't go away. So basically, Ammon and Moab were better positioned to answer this very complicated, difficult question. Miyad, immediately, V'akarov Elav, those who were close to him, Karshna, Shesar, Admosa, Sarshis, that these advisors who were close to Achashverosh, Reb Levi kol pasuk al shum korbanus nemer. Says Reb Levi that this entire pasuk is referring to korbanus, right? Kilu v'akarov elav. Karov is like lashon korban, and then it says karshana. What does it mean karshana? Malachi asharis lefnei Kadosh Baruch Hu, that the ministering angels said before the Eibishter, Ribono shel olam, Master of the world, did, I assume it means like in this whole big hoedown, in this whole big banquet, did they offer before you a 1-year-old sheep like the Yidden do? Shesar, shtei torin, did they offer before you 2 oxen? Admasa, banu l'fanecha mizbach adama, did they build for you an altar of earth? Tarshish, klum shimshu l'fanecha b'vigdei kuna, did they serve before you? I guess they pranced around before you, but they didn't serve before you in the garments of the kohen, of the priests. That it says about it, Tarshish v'shoam v'yoshve. So it says Tarshish in the context of the stones that were on the Choshen, I believe. What's this pasuk? Yeah, I believe so. Meres, klum mersu b'dam lifanecha, did they kind of like move around the blood in front of you, the blood of the animals, to keep it from congealing? Marsino klum mersu b'menachos lifanecha, did they kind of like mix around the flour offerings before you? Memuchon klum echinu shulchan lifanecha, did they prepare a table before you? Of course not. And therefore, the ministering angel said before God, he says, these Persians are a bunch of nudniks. They're nothing compared to the Yidden who bring korbanos and do all sorts of great things. Vayome Memuchan, and Memuchan said, Tana Memuchan ze Haman. Boom. Memuchan is Haman. Velomenik Hashma Memuchan. So why did they call him Memuchan? Why not call him Haman? Shemuchan lefuranos, because he's ready to have some bad fortune. Rav Kahana says, Rav Kahana Mikan Shahedjit Kofetz Brosh. I thought that was very interesting. I shared it with my friend Mendy at WeWork this morning at about early in the morning. So Mikan Shahedjit Kofetz Brosh, that the lowest fellow could become the top. Kilo, it says a whole bunch of people, right? Karshna Shesar Admosa Sarshis Meres Marsina Memuchan. Memuchan is the last of the advisors mentioned, and yet, obviously, out of all of them, Haman rises to be the highest. Oh my gosh, this is very off topic, but I heard somebody say about Larry David that, I don't know how many years ago, a long time ago, like the beginning of their careers, if anybody would have said, would have thought that Larry, would have told them that Larry David's going to be the most successful out of all of them, they would have said that you're crazy. But in the end, he's a successful fellow. That every man should be the leader in his house. So Omar says Rav, if not for these first earlier letters, right? Like at the end of the very first parak of the Megillah, right? Right? So that is the end of the first parak, that every man should be the ruler in his house. So basically, Omar Rav says if not for these first letters that Achashverosh sent out, that he sounded like a fool in them, that every man should be the ruler in his house. If not for those original letters that made Achashverosh look like a fool, so then there would be no more of the Yidden left. Amre, they said, they said, what are you sending us? Everybody, a man should be a ruler in his house. Even a lowly weaver in his own home is, a very fancy ruler. So therefore, when all these people received this silly letter, right, this letter from the king with that every man should be the ruler in his house, so they all said, all right, this guy is an idiot. And therefore, when the next letter came out, which said kill all the Jews, they didn't they kind of took it with a grain of salt, and they didn't kind of trust it. But if there wouldn't have been this letter that made him look like a fool first, and they just would have gotten the instruction from the king, kill the Jews, so you know what they would have done, Lamaisa. I don't want to think about it. And the king will put in place officers who will make sure that he gets all of the girls to come to the palace so he could figure out who he likes the best. Amar Rav says, Rav, what does the pasuk mean? Kol arum yaise b'das, that anybody intelligent will do with intelligence. Uchsil, and a fool yifros iveles will, do things kind of like a roundabout way, in a less efficient way. Kol arum yaise b'das, that any intelligent fellow will do in a smart way. Zed David. This is David that they said, that his servant said to him, Yivakshel Adoni Amelech Nair Besula, that may they request for the king a maiden, a young girl, but just one. Koman dehavale barta. So the king was looking for one girl, so there's only going to be one chance. So anybody who had a girl, so Isa Niale, so everybody wanted that the girl should be them. Uchsil Yifros Iveles, but a fool will do things in kind of a foolish way. Achashverosh. This is Achashverosh that he had to put on officers in order to get what he wanted. That everybody was hiding their daughters from Achashverosh, because Achashverosh, right, is Kol Nair Besula, that he wanted everybody and he was going to sleep with everybody and he was going to figure out who he likes the best. I mean, an absolute mess, right? No, you're going to do whatever you can to save your daughters from that. So therefore, a fool does things in foolish ways, and he had to kind of then set up like a whole elaborate system with officers in order to force everybody and grab all these girls. The Megillah says that there was a Yid in Shushan, Ishimini, and it says that he comes from basically Binyamin. So on the one hand he says he's a Yehudi, on the other hand he says he's a Yemini. So, right, Yehudi being from Yehuda, and Yemini being from Binyamin. So my Kalmer, so what does this mean? If it's just saying, right, Ish Yehudi Ayab Shushan Abir Shmo Mordechai ben Yair ben Shimi ben Kish Ish Yemini. Right, so he's telling me his father's name, his grandfather's name, so why not just go all the way up to Binyamin if we just want to tell the names? So Ela Maishna Hane Tla Hane. So what's special about, right, Ben Yair ben Shimi ben, what is it? Mordechai ben Yair ben Shimi ben Kish Ish Yemini. Right? So Tana Kulan al Shmo Nikrau, they were all related to Mordechai's name. Ben Yair ben Sheher, a name Shal Yisrael. What it means that he's the son of Yair, it means that he lightened up the eyes of the Yidden, Bisfilaso, with his prayers. Ben Shimi, Ben Sheshama El Tfilaso, that he's, Shimi means that God listened to his prayer. Ben Kish, Sheikish Al Shari Rachamim, that he knocked on the doors of mercy. v'niftechu and they were open to him. Kari le-Yehudi, and they call him a Yehudi, Ama mi-Yehuda kasi. So that sounds like he came from Judah. V'kari le-Yemini, but they also call him Yemini, Ama mi-Binyamin kasi, which means that he come from Benjamin. So what is it? Does he come from Judah? Does he come from Benjamin? So Rav Nachman, Mordechai muchtar b'nimuso hoyo. So it says of Nachman that Mordechai had a very good name. What does this mean? Amrav bar Bachana, Amr Yoshua ben Levi, Aviv mi Binyamin, v'imo mi Yehuda. That his father was from Benjamin and his mother was from Judah. Right? So essentially he was from the tribe of Benjamin, but his mother comes from the tribe of Judah. And V'Rabbanan Amrei, and the rabbis say, Mishpachas Mizgar zo bazo, that the families were fighting with one another. Mishpachas Yehuda Omeres, that the family of Judah, so they say, Ono Gorim Demislid Mordechai Tilokatle David Shimi ben Gera. So Judah says, well, we are responsible, right? Us, Judah, the tribe of Judah, from whom David HaMelech comes, and David HaMelech did not kill Shimi ben Gera, even though he cursed, I think the king, right? So even though he was deserving death, David HaMelech did not kill him, and Mordechai came from him. So therefore, Judah was arguing that they were responsible. David HaMelech was responsible for the birth of Mordechai. Whereas Binyamin says, yeah, but that's the day. He's from our tribe. He's from Binyamin. Ravi Amr says, Rabba Knesset Yisrael Amra Le'idach Gisa. So it says Rava that actually the Yidden were kind of lamenting, right? Re'u ma asli Yehudi umashilim li yemini. See what the one from Judah did, and see what the one from Binyamin did in order to cause our plight. Ma asli Yehudi tilokatle David l'shimi de islid minei Mordechai de mikane be'amen. Look what the tribe of Judah did, that David HaMelech spared Shimi ben Gera, and Mordechai came from Shimi ben Gera, and Mordechai gave a hard time to Haman, who caused this whole snowball effect to get started in the first place. Umashilim li yemini, and what the fellow from Benjamin did, Dilokatle Shaul la'agog, that Shaul spared Agag, the king of Amalek, the Isli mine Haman, that Haman came from him, the Mitzar Yisrael, who caused Israel a lot of pain and frustration. So therefore, nobody's got clean hands, right? If David would have killed Shimi ben Gera, then we wouldn't have had Mordechai, right? Mordechai gave Haman a hard time. And if Shaul would have killed Agag from Amalek, so then we wouldn't have Haman, who also gave the Yidden a hard time. Rabbi Yochanan Omar says, Rabbi Yochanan L'olami Binyamin Ka'asi, really, Mordechai comes from the tribe of Benjamin. V'amai kari le-Yehudi, so why do we call him Yehudi if he comes from Benjamin? Al Shem shekafar ba'avodah zarah, because he denied avodah zarah. Shekol ha'kofar ba'avodah zarah. Anybody who denies avodah zarah, Nikra Yehudi, is called a Yehudi. Kedichsev iti Guvin Yehudayin Vigomer, that there are these Jewish fellows, and then at the end of the pasuk it talks about avodah zarah. So friends, that was the Yud Beis of Masechta Megillah. We're really just going basically like through the psukim of. We're already in the second parak now. Kilu of the Megillah. Kilu, we're the first parak of Masechta Megillah, but we went through all the psukim of the first parak of the Megillah, and now we already right. Ish Yehudi Ayib Shushan Abir is already in the second parak of the Megillah scroll. So friends, very interesting daf. Have a good day. Peace out.